Good evening, everybody. I'm here to do this week's Toolbox Tuesday, and I decided to go ahead and do it live. That way, if anyone wanted to make some comments, they could. If anyone wanted some feedback, they could. If anyone happened to be scrolling by and happened to catch this little posty post and wanted to do a little interacting, totally feel free to do that. But today's Toolbox Tuesday is going to start a series for the brief month of February, where I'm going to be talking about relationship effectiveness. I'm going to be talking about the various ways that we can understand or interpret our internal feelings of love, and some of the things that we can do to show them to the people that we care about, as well as some of the things that we require to nurture these relationships. So that is my goal for the February Toolbox Tuesday. So I will be doing some frisky posting. So some of the posts this month will be about sex, sexting, will be about building healthy relationships from a lot of different perspectives. So hopefully y'all find that useful. We're definitely going to keep it sex positive and trauma informed. So all the posts will definitely be sensitive to the various dynamics that occur when we consider sex, sexuality, sexual orientation, and existing in the world that we live in. I think you know what I'm saying, right? Cool. So we're going to keep it sex positive, peaceful, and respectful. So, oh, who's watching? Who this? Hey, to the one person that's watching. Thanks for tuning in. Um, so the first word for love that I'm going to talk about is called eros. Um, and some people might recognize the word or the name eros as like a Greek god for love. Um, and you also might recognize the prefix ero for the same prefix as the word like erotic. Uh, and this word describes passionate love. It describes sexual love, and to a degree, it also describes romantic love. However, the caveat for Eros is that the full story is that once someone was pierced by this arrow that Eros sent down, they would become slightly mad. And so the erotic love, this Eros love, is technically classified as a form of madness. And if you take that into consideration, romantic love, sexual, passionate love, if you recontextualize it as a type of madness, that actually does kind of explain a lot of the things that we go through in the courtship process. When we start building relationships that have an erotic flair to it, we sometimes ignore certain things that are important for us to pay attention to. Warning signs, red flags, so on and so forth. When we are entangled with someone erotically or passionately or sexually, the way that we think about them and ourselves and how we move with them throughout the world changes and it's altered drastically, and it's not always for the best. A lot of times we hear stories about erotic love and romance that burns, just no go. This actually, if you think about it, makes the tales of like that happily ever after seem a lot more sweet. However, the happily ever after princess tales and the stuff that we were kind of conditioned or taught to like love or kind of want, those romances, those happily ever afters, don't have eroticism as their central tenets. We don't see eroticism as the central tenet in Cinderella. We don't see eroticism as a central tenet in Beauty and the Beast. And so I'm on purpose using those kind of images as a way to exemplify how we've been kind of taught to view love, through our media and our expectations. But if you are the kind of person who thought about the princess happily ever after, that's what I want out of love. Well, those stories that we are watching did not have the erotic component as the central tenet of the tale. And I'm wondering if the erotic component of our relationships actually might be a sign of a type of decline. Now, that's just something for me to toil with and kind of develop further. But people do pretty damaging things to each other, for each other, with each other when the erotic component is at play in a relationship. The second kind of love that I want to discuss, or the second name for love that I want to discuss, is called philia. And it is described as friendship or goodwill. This is a very pure kind of love by the Greeks' definition. And by like the Greeks' definition, I'm talking about Aristotle and Plato. Those are the people who, like the classics that I have read and who are often like very referenced when it comes to this work. Greek words, Greek philosophers, I think you get it. Um, but yeah, the philosophy behind philia as a type of love or a word for love is the shared goodwill component towards another person is the hallmark of philia as a love. And the philosophers Aristotle, Plato go on to describe three different situations that could lead to developing goodwill towards another person. One, this other person is useful. If someone is useful in our lives, we will generally have some goodwill towards them, some degree of goodwill. Two, if that person is pleasant, then we will have a degree of goodwill towards them because it's pleasant to be around them. It doesn't really suck to be in their presence. And then third, that person is good. So they are rational, they are virtuous. And getting into a philia relationship with someone who is good, who is useful, who is pleasant, or who has this quality of having goodwill towards others has a tendency, if you are that way as well, if this is a co-equal relationship and there's interdependence, right, it creates a loop of altruism. My goodwill towards you, your goodwill towards me, it's a cycle. And you can start to feel that in a relationship. You can start to feel that in your friendships. You can start to feel that in the dynamics. So the question now that I want to ask, or the little exercise that I want you to kind of go through, is called the red light, yellow light, green light activity. And so how this activity goes is consider your erotic or romantic relationships on the one hand, and consider what does it take for someone to go from a red light zone, as in you don't participate in any erotic things with them, despite maybe thinking that you might want to. What does it take for a person to go all the way from outside the chances of that possibility to into the yellow light zone? So maybe a stranger. What would make a stranger go from red light eroticism, as in no, we're not doing it, out of the question, to a yellow light place where you might actually talk about it, might actually consider it, might actually try to learn a few things to see how it might work out? Now, from this yellow light place, when it comes to your erotic relationships, what would it take for you to give someone in the yellow light zone the green light? What would it take you to say, actually, you know what? Let's move into this erotic place. Let's move into this romantic place. Let's move into this place where we're going to be doing these things passionately and we're going to be exploring romance and sex. And on the other hand, in your philia relationships, in your relationships with people where there's like a friendship bond, a sisterhood, a brotherhood, camaraderie, and this shared goodwill, what does it take for a complete stranger to go from not being in that place to being someone that you would consider sharing goodwill with? And what it would mean for you to actually start to share your goodwill with them in action and deed and in word. I hope you find this helpful, useful, gives you a little something to think about. Next week, I will come back again with another live discussion of two other types of Greek words for love, and I will ask the same questions from the red, yellow, green light perspective. How are you determining what you do with the people that you are engaging with, and what classification do you put them in. Your besties, your blesties might go into the philia relationship, or they might go into another kind of relationship that's based on something that we'll talk about in the future next week. So tune in next week for the rest of this discussion. Keep your eyes posted, or keep your eyes peeled, because I will be posting some more stuff to Facebook. Also, check out some of the things that are changing at www.holisticwellnessandrecovery.com, because some things are happening there as well. Also, I am now paneled with one insurance company. It's the Optum Group, and their most notable insurance carrier is United Health. So if you are a United Health subscriber and you think you want to have some consultation, get some work done, learn a little bit about yourself, have some growth, and you want to do it with me, hit me up. We can talk about how to make that work. All right, folks, have a great week. Talk to you next week.